Hey everybody, I just want to let you know that we were live a few moments ago, and we were playing around and we had some shenanigans going on. But I wanted to say to you, first of all, my name is Luann Igara. I'm from WindowWorks and a Well-Designed Business podcast. And I wanted to say that now I'm going to share with you live some of Nicole's actual seminar that's happening now at WindowWorks on branding for interior designers. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to walk out into the meeting, which is already happening.
Two clients, two good clients that are, have enough positive feelings towards you that they're willing to do this little exercise for you, or have someone else call them so that it's a little bit, you're removed from it. You will get such good stuff. You will get, I promise you, because sometimes I talk to clients of my clients, and it's always a surprise, like you're going to get messaging there so that you don't have to do that, so you don't have to feel like you're, I don't know, I'll try speaking too positively of yourself. So that is going to be part of your homework to finish filling all that out and to call two clients and ask them the questions that I have provided for you there, or have someone else do it. I know it's a little bit hard to fill out the answers to these questions, and I know that it takes some effort to call your clients or to have someone call your clients. But later in the workshop, I'm going to talk about what we're going to do with this messaging, and seriously, once you have it in your hand, once you have like 4 or 5 bullet points of messaging, you're just spraying them all over the place. Like it's just, you get to use them all the time. It makes every job that you do easier. Copywriting, yes.
And so that's the point. You really want to zero it down to like 4 or 5, like so that it's so, yeah, oh, sorry. I didn't read. I'm just so engaged listening to you, I'm not reading.
I didn't say it yet, so yeah. So yes, thank you. The next step is to refine. You really want to...
I'm not really
psychic. It is to refine. So you've got this sheet full of stuff, and when we do discovery, we have all these conversations, and that is exactly what I do with clients. I take all kinds of notes, and then I go through, and I look for the points that I think would be useful and pleasing to the target client. Like look for the ones like the juicy, good stuff. So you refine. So maybe you've got 4 things, right? And you take those things and you're like, all right, so the fact that I am super responsive, apparently my clients really value that. I found out because someone called them and asked them, like, what's so great? And they were like, oh, they're so responsive. You might not realize how much that means to people because they had a bad experience with someone else who wasn't super responsive. And maybe it's that you specialize in a certain style. Some of you, that is the case. Maybe it's that I have like notes on ideas for this stuff. Maybe it's that you have like a unique pricing structure that they appreciate. Whatever it is, you're going to get those 4 things and you're going to list them out on the messaging sheet. So we've got branding guidelines are the first piece of paper that I included there. That's the more the visual stuff. So we're going to talk about that in a moment. The next page is your messaging. So the way I do it is a little bit backwards. We brainstorm, right? We answer all these questions. It's hard. We push through it. We talk to clients so we can get all of the raw material. And then we dig through that raw material until we find the pieces of gold that are in it. The things that really seem to like work for people, right? Once you have those things, we are going to work on a brand positioning statement. So this is like kind of a standard marketing thing, right? We provide, what do you provide? So we can be specific. Ramya, what do you provide?
Kitchen design.
Kitchen design, right. To
middle class homeowners.
Yes. Who are looking for
their clean kitchen.
Wow, slam dunk, Ramya. Woo! Nicole's on fire.
Right. So the reason why and my approach is a little bit different in that I do the messaging thing with it, because we can write a brand positioning statement, and that's going to basically be about one thing. And you are not a one-trick pony. You are not just that one thing. You also are whatever else people like about you. Whatever they like about how you relate to them, or how quickly you get back to them, or, some special knowledge that you have of a particular style that not everyone has. You are all these things. Now I want to note before I go any further, this is internal, this stuff. you're not taking this brand positioning statement and putting it up on your website as is. So you don't have to be scared of making it specific. You're not like saying like, this is all I do. No one has to even know that this exists, right? But you know. So when you go to do anything, write a blog post, like decide on content for a blog post, or like write your web copy, you've got this messaging and you've got the brand positioning statement. When you go to decide, oh, I think I'm going to sink some money into like print ads, where should I do it? Look at your messaging and look at your brand positioning statement. The answer will be there, you know? It can be so easy to get distracted at like shiny, pretty opportunities, but it helps to hone in on it when you've got these tools in your pocket, when you've got this piece of paper that I've provided. You can also use a different piece of paper, or you can do it on a computer, but like just to have that information somewhere, it helps you hone in. Yes?
Is it okay to have more than one
More than what?
brand positioning statement if, say, you have 2 targets of clients? Or is it better for you to hone
You're
yourself
making your
in?
job harder,
Okay.
you know? I will say this, like I said, it's not public, it's for internal use. So like, I'll give you myself as an example. I serve all kinds of clients, you know, from municipalities to like a lake cruise company to, you know, a acupuncturist, but I market to interior designers, and I have a core base of our interior designers because of that. It's not that these other people won't hire me, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's an internal document, so that you're not like, I mean, you could like go out there and be like, that's it, you know, but I don't think it's necessary to do that, to make that jump, you know? It just helps so that you are speaking their language, and so, like, again, using me as an example, if someone comes to me and they are way outside my zone of expertise, like, we are gonna have this huge learning curve to build the project, you know? Like, I have to like go to my developer and be like, can we do this? And like, you know, like it's a whole thing. But if I work within the area that I understand, I can do a better job, and I can do it, you know, efficiently. So with you, it's the same thing. You wanna like build up that base. Do you have like 2 different, it's common for people to have like 2 different target markets that they think about.
Yeah,
That does happen.
From experience, I've looked back, and these are the 2 clients that I really like.
Yeah. So it's just harder, honestly. It's just harder. I would try and focus on one. You know.
I just want to add too, from my years of experience and from the webinars or the seminars that I've been to, and from my experience, the fact when I do my medical offices, they've always taught us that 80% of your profit will be in your specialty.
Yes.
So if you're in your specialty and you're very knowledgeable in your specialty, you'll profit so much more than in something that you're not familiar with. Because in something that you're not familiar with, as you said, you have so much more research to do, and that you're not familiar with. Something that you're very familiar with is very easy to make more profit on because you don't have to think that hard.
Right.
You know your stuff.
Right.
That's
right.
really
And you can do a better job for the client.
Yeah.
Because you know everything.
Yes,
Yeah.
but it can get boring, and so you sometimes want to reach out.
Sure.
But
And
you have to
can.
understand that it's harder and
Right.
it'll not be as profitable.
Right. It's so true. The profitable thing. It's so true.
That's a good point.
So, a couple examples. We provide residential full-service interior design to dual-income families in Bergen County who are looking for eco-friendly design with a luxury twist. Just an example. But
Oh my God.
but you know, like it's full-service interior design, so there's project management involved. There's a difference between that and a consultation service. Like, let's be specific about this.
Exactly.
Yeah, dual-income families in Bergen County. We're talking about income level now, right? Eco-friendly design with luxury twist. That's the point of differentiation on this one, because that's interesting. And there is a whole market of people in Bergen County who would be like, ooh, I'm like bougie bohemian. Alright, second, I provide interior design consultations to people who are selling their home, who are looking for an expert in this area with a proven process. And this goes back to what Pat was saying. So in a case like this, if someone does this kind of service, part of having this as part of your brand is that you want to be able to prove it to people, right? So like, particularly with this example, you could say like, hey look, I have this track record of increasing the value of these people's homes, you know, like numbers. Numbers are always nice. If you can bring numbers into anything, by all means. So when you dig into something enough like this, you have the ability to explore it that way and to really look into proving it. Okay, fun. Now we're gonna talk about brand voice. so fun. So brand voice is how you talk to your clients. And when I say talk, I mean talk on social media, talk in person, how your employees talk to your clients, how you talk in your copy, what is the tone of voice that you are using. So I'm using, MailChimp is like sort of the first example that I'm giving because it's like one of those classic examples of brand voice, like everybody uses it, like I've been in other seminars where they've talked about it. They have this like cheeky thing going on. Does anyone use MailChimp?
I use them.
Yeah. What? You're signing. It's the spirit. Okay. Like, here's a tweet. We send 600 million daily emails like a golden retriever eats a plate of spaghetti. What? It's funny. They high five you. The monkey high fives you when you're about to, right, Rania? When you decide to send it. It's got like this like Sherlock Holmes thing. Like, it's kind of silly. Their target market is small business owners. They target that market also by having a free service up to 2,000 contacts. So they're targeting that market in every possible way, you know? And the brand feels, basically they're taking something that is kind of like not that much fun, in the classic sense of fun, and email marketing, and just injecting a little bit of fun into it. That's their brand. And if you go look at Constant Contact, that is not their brand. It's two different things. Constant Contact, what? It's very serious, and that's going to attract a different type of person. There are some of you who are looking at this and you're like, whatever, and you're not their target market, and that's fine. So Darla Powell, she's someone I've just become acquainted with.
Darla's watching. Let's all say hi to Darla. Darla's watching us. Hey, Darla. Yeah, I'm now living again. A little more serious this time. I'm locking it down. Darla just said hi, Nicole.
So Darla is like really funny if you meet her. She's like a really funny person. And she has just very recently started blogging, but her blog, immediately she established this brand voice. Like, I don't know how she did it so quickly, but she just kind of like MailChimp. It's like a similar, like, sort of like cheeky example, but like, you've chosen it. This is from a blog post from like last week or something. You've chosen the perfect gray paint. You excitedly roll it on your walls. And what, in the Pratt and Lambert? It's purple. Yeah, there's a reason for that. So she's like making it like kind of fun to talk about undertones. Is there something intrinsically fun about undertones? No.
There isn't?
I know. You guys are like, yes.
Yeah. I'm with you, Nicole. No.
But yeah, Darla's establishing a brand voice. Her target market she's looking at, she specializes in doing consultations. So she is putting out blog posts that are very helpful and very easy to read because her target market is DIYers, basically. Sort of like elevated DIYers. The ones that are like, you know what, I'm ready to take this to the next level. I'm going to have Darla come. She's known for this. She's going to come give me a consultation so I can do this myself and do it right, you know? So she's talking to them in just the way they need to be spoken to, you know, like really easy to read and, like I said, helpful. Because if they're DIYers, like if your target market is full service, people who do not, they just want to outsource, then you don't need to be writing blog posts about how to do things.
Right.
They don't need to know that.
How to hire the guy.
Yeah, hire the guy. Write a blog post about that. So in your sheets here, you have a brand voice sheet there. So we're asking ourselves, like, what is my brand voice? Because this is the kind of thing, as with everything else, consistency is key. You don't want someone who works for you writing a blog post in a completely different brand voice, or speaking to a client in a completely different brand voice, being, let's say, super way too casual, if that's not your thing, you know? So are you more aspirational? Are you more down to earth? Are you more casual? Are you like openly passionate, you know? Like if you're talking about color in a way that is like really excited, you know? Are you like caring and nurturing and like leading them through gently? Or are you more like tough love, kid, this is the truth, you know? Like, whatever it is. So I want you to think about that. And as with everything, like I said, we're going back to who's your target client. So when you're thinking about it, What do they respond to? What comes naturally to you, and what do they respond to? So go ahead and just circle whatever out of that list, and also you can just write your own. So if nothing in there feels right to you, circle anything that feels appropriate.
Do they have sassy, sarcastic?
Yeah, they do have sarcasm.
Okay, all right.
So that would be the first one I'll
No nonsense. Let me find my brand voice, Nicole.
What?
I said, do they have sassy, sarcastic, no nonsense? I gotta find my brand voice on your list.
How do you know what the client is? Because you've been working with your clients for a while.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know what they respond to. You can test these things. That's marketing, testing these things. But the approach that we're taking today is you've been working with them for a while. You have someone in mind, right? I asked you to have someone in mind. So think about those people that really you work well with, and think about how you relate to them. And then, so the thing is, like, if in person with your clients, you are kind of like witty, let's say, and like you keep it light, but then your copy is like, that's not good, like bring in the consistency. This is why it's good to think about this. This is not something that you might normally be thinking about. Yes?
Do you think being playful and somewhat casual in your voice can translate to being unprofessional?
No, not necessarily. No. So I'm gonna bring the next level of this to you right now. But no, it's a good question. That's a good question. I think over the last however many years, the trend in copywriting and brand voice in general has gotten, in general, more casual than it used to be, right? Like everyone uses contractions now, for example. Can'ts instead of cannots. Like that's the trend. So it is much more easy and okay to be more casual. But here's the next level. This is what those 3 lines are there for. We want to add qualifiers. So sarcastic.
Jen? No.
So sarcastic is one of my brand voice words too. I feel like it's just how I was raised, right? So you want to qualify it. So sarcastic, but not rude. Playful, but not silly. So that you can so that you're creating a fence around it. So it's not ridiculous. Like these words are too strong to just take them literally. So on those 3 lines, you can pick the 3 that really sum it up the most for you, and then qualify them. And then that's something that you can use as a guide, and people who work for you, if that's the case, can use as a guide if they're writing something for you. Or if you're handing it to a copywriter, because one of the first things that a copywriter is going to ask you if you're working with them is like, what kind of brand voice are we talking about here? How do you want to communicate? So if you've thought about it, and they will work with you on that, and they will give you an opinion, but if you've thought about it ahead of time, all the better. Yes?
But you do have to think, like now, if I'm looking back on my career, so a lot of times I've tried to be, I look at the clients that I would like to have,
Yes.
and if I've tried to be aloof in my career, I break down because I'm a naturally down-to-earth person.
Right.
I always break down because I can't stay aloof.
Yeah.
But I would have liked to be, because I would have liked to be
Why?
one of the clients that wanted the aloof designer, because I would have had, because clients at a certain level, there are clients that you would have liked because they were of a certain level that you could have done different jobs with.
Is it true that they,
Right.
I have a question, is it true that people who have like a certain income level, is it true that they want an aloof person in their house?
Maybe it's the wrong word.
I was just going to say, could we know what you mean by aloof? I think that would help to us, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe it's the wrong word, but what I'm saying is certain designers, and it might have been age too, it might be a certain period of time, and that has gotten much more relaxed.
Yes.
But there's still a level of, if I have a certain pocketbook, or if I have a certain something, and I'm being very honest right now.
Yes.
If I have a certain pocketbook, or if I have a certain look, or if I'm of a certain
Designer clothing.
Yes, in a long time ago, if I didn't have a hat,
Okay.
I wouldn't get a job.
Mhm.
Whereas now it's not the same at all, but there is certain very small degrees, cues, yes, that are different. So I think when you're looking at this, you have to look at the whole thing and what you aspire to.
Sure. Yeah.
You know, and what you aspire to, not just what you want. You have to look at your target audience and
Mhm.
where you want to be.
Yeah.
And who they are.
Exactly, who they are and who they want to, if you want to be, you want to gravitate toward their people.
Yeah.
And I think I was shortchanging myself in my early years, saying,
You didn't have confidence in yourself.
I don't know if it was confidence, I just kept falling back into who I was, because maybe
Isn't
I
that a
was my
better place to
authentic
be,
self.
though?
I mean,
Wouldn't
the
you?
fact that
Maybe.
people can smell not
Yeah.
genuine anyway.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's not gonna.
Exactly.
That's why you kind of have to come from. This is why we talk about like starting from where you are, because that's
Who you are.
real. Yeah. You know, people ask me like, should I say I or we on my website? And I'm like, whichever one is true.
Well, sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. I wonder, like I said, you know, and you said, trends have changed in the level of formality, you know. So I would wonder how. I guess it's just
It's not finished though, it's not
no,
finished, I see
it's
it.
not. It depends on the person too. Yeah, I mean, I think you just have to be who you are. You just can't.
Well, and Nicole, I feel like when I search my brain back through different discussions that I've had with people like yourself on the podcast who specialize in branding and creating your voice, okay, I feel like that it's a little bit a mixture of what Pat is saying and what we're all acknowledging, that it is different now. And I think what makes it a lot different is the advent of social media. We see each other with our grandchildren. We see each other in every which way. So no longer are you going to be able to pretend not to be the grandmother who's on the beach with your kids, because that's who you are, right? I mean, I know this about you from social media, right? So the thing is, though, that I feel like it might have been Kim Cutable who expressed it, something about, I think, relating to what you're saying. If Pat were aspiring to only deal with that sort of client that lives a more aloof lifestyle and has a less genuine connection on that comfort level with their designer, then you correct me, what I would think is then her branding, her social media would not include the pictures of the children, she'd have to stay aloof in her branding. And then that question we were all saying, well, is it fun to work with that person? That person who wants to hire the behind the curtain interior designer, at the end of the day, is still a real live human being, and you'll make the connection with. But maybe there is a person that doesn't want a designer that is all over the place and another that doesn't care. Right. So isn't there somewhere the marrying of both in there?
You'll find on this, you know, like more formal, you know, like that is a choice for your brand voice. Absolutely.
I mean, you can separate.
Yes.
Social media. Right.
Yes, exactly. And I mean, I don't think you can, like you said, I don't think you can change your personality.
No.
But you can hold, for example, like I'm a person who swears a lot. You know, like, yes. But I'm not doing that right now.
I'm appalled.
Not yet.
You know, no, but I mean like.
Rich found that particularly funny.
We don't.
I just want to say something about the person who has a lot of money. Didn't always have a lot of money. And the other person who
Darla.
wanted, I don't know. They made more money than I did, but that doesn't change the basic nature of the human being. So they're not morally, they go to the Hamptons. Okay, so they go to the Hamptons, so they have a penthouse, so you don't. So what I'm saying to you is, you're seeing them as aloof, that's your impression.
No,
No,
that's not
am I
right. No,
getting-
I don't agree with you.
I don't
And
know.
I'm not talking about just social media, I'm talking
Right.
about way back.
Yes, yes.
Way back.
Yes, where you had to get dressed up in a pillbox hat and everything else to get that client.
Yeah.
No, you know,
And
look,
if you look at, even if you look at Jamie Drake, from what we've learned about him,
Right.
he rented the fancy car to get his fancy client originally.
Yes.
You know, these are things that have happened.
Right.
Because they looked at their target market.
Right.
Right.
No, I agree. I think the truth is mixed in the middle of both.
Right,
There's
and
no
I'm talking
question.
to a group of people that might be interested in that. I'm
Right.
saying that at the end of my career.
Right.
And
Looking
people
back.
at the beginning of their career. I'm not saying it as, you know. like-
No. Sharing information.
That's thinking about the target market.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good points, Pat. Thank you.
Absolutely good points. Yeah. There's not really a conflict there. Like it's looking at your target market and reacting to it.
Right.
While still considering what you can offer.
Exactly.
So yeah, totally.
And is that what it is, Nicole? So if say you're not the girl that wears pillbox hats and carries the pocketbook. I mean, you all know that's me, right? Hello. But if that is your target market, are you saying to us that with the branding and the social media and everything about your website and everything, the way you present and where you go to an appointment all says that, and then you just further with your other identifiers look for the other things that will also make it authentic for you to deal with that person that maybe doesn't dress the way you dress?
Yeah. Because
Person.
yeah, it's hard when you say pillbox hat. I'm like, oh, that's too far.
Yeah. Okay, let's say a Louis Vuitton bag, okay? Or Prada shoes or something.
It's a very specific.
Yeah.
clientele. But yes, that's what we're saying. That we're looking at the target client. So like that client, for example, that client still has choices. There are high-end designers. They're looking at 3 high-end designers. The same rule applies. That you still need a point of differentiation. You
This
still
is
do.
true.
You
We
still
can't
do.
just have a pillbox hat.
No,
You got to have
you
something
can't.
else.
You can't. and good work. That is up to the level, because it has to be up to the level. Always, like that's like yes.
That's a
it has to be
given.
good. Everybody's work is good, right? So yes, I think that's the point. That yes, there will always be a few different designers that fulfill the basic requirements. How can we be different? But yes, the level of formality, I think there's probably some choices on there that are more formal. Like this, people speak in a more formal way. Logo design. So, logo design. Everyone, does everyone have an existing logo or not? Do you like your logo?
Wait, can I do that again? Who here doesn't have a logo? I didn't see who doesn't. Oh, everybody does. Okay, awesome.
Alright, great. So I just want to say up front, I am not in the business of if you have an existing logo, I do not take it lightly. Like I'm not going to stand here and be like, you should change your logo, because it is a big deal to change your logo, especially if you have an established business, you've been around, there's money in that logo. There's recognition. People know it, they understand it. It is on things, you know. But what we can do is we can talk about how you can get yourself, as far as branding guidelines set up, how you can get yourself in the right place. So, what is the purpose of a logo? The purpose of a logo is to act as a visual reminder of the rest of the stuff that we're talking about, so that people think of the rest of the messaging and everything that we're discussing. It's the visual cue. It needs to have the right vibe to be appealing to your target market. Totally. It should not be a literal illustration of what you do. That is not what a logo is. So nobody here should have like a chair with a custom drapery with a house, you know, like we're not trying to explain it that way. It should have whatever it is. If you have a more sort of like, you know, crazy, pizzazzy sort of thing going on, your logo should be like that. If you're more like, you know, modern and contemporary, your logo should be like that. If it's a more upscale client, your logo should look upscale. So, some questions that we need to ask ourselves about our logos. Does it scale well? That's one of the most important things. So I'm showing here the blimp. So if your logo's ever on a blimp, I always use that as an example. I don't know why. I should really be saying trade show, because that's a lot more likely. So if you're a trade show, and you scale up your logo, it needs to work well big, and it also needs to work well really small. And that can be a mistake when people are either design the logo themselves or have an amateur designer do it. It can be too fussy and therefore not scale well. So that's really important. Now, if you have a logo, and I haven't seen all of your logos, if you have a logo and you're like, ugh, I don't think it does scale well, two things could happen. One, sometimes for some reason designers include a tagline like in the logo file, so that it's like part of it. Just take that out. The tagline is a separate entity that should never be included in the logo setup. But what you can do is you can take your existing logo, if you do feel that it's too fussy, take it back to your designer and be like, hey, can you just, you know, like, just make this so it'll scale well small. You can make smaller adjustments to it if you feel that there is a problem without losing your recognizable branding. Just a thought. By the way, there is a to-do list in there, so if I'm talking about anything, especially from this point, like through the branding, the visual branding stuff, if you hear something and you're like, oh, I gotta go talk to my designer about something, write it on the to-do list. Doesn't work in black and white. So I asked this for a couple of reasons. First of all, you should have a black and white version of your logo in hand. Hopefully your designer either did or can provide that to you, because sometimes you need a black and white version. Like if you're gonna put it on an invoice or something like that and you put the color version and then it's just like faded and weird, you know, you want a strong, punchy black and white version of your logo. Also, just knowing that a logo works, when we do logos, we start in black and white to make sure the design is strong enough that it can stand up without the extra remove of color. So you want a logo that is strong enough that it stands up in black and white. Is it simple? So just speaking to everything I just said, is it simple enough? Because in 2017, and that might not, you know, trends change with graphic design, right? But in 2017, thank you, Apple, everything that is simple and clean feels more professional and more upscale. Things that have a lot going on. We can go out onto any local suburban highway here, drive along, and you will see the difference. You will see the logos that were created by someone in-house who, you know, maybe is not a designer, and they're always the ones that are more literal, overcomplicated, right? Too many fonts, all that kind of stuff. So you really want to just look for, you know, and then look at the logos that are professional with the bigger companies. They're always really simple. They just are, you know? And that is always going to serve you well. It's going to be more timeless. You're not going to be like looking at it in 2 years and be like, oh, this looks so 2016 or whatever. You have a vector file. This is really important. So you might not know what I'm talking about, so you can go back to your designer and ask them, do I have the vector file for this? It should end in EPS or .ai. And basically what that is that's what allows a logo to scale to blimp or trade show size. So like if a logo is a JPEG, you guys don't know what a JPEG is, it only can go so big. And then it starts to just look gross because it's made out of dots. Vector is made out of shapes, solid shapes. So I have many times had clients who are like, yeah, I have a logo file, and they send me, and they don't have the vector file, and we have to recreate it in vector so we can actually do stuff with it. So that's fine if you don't have it. Even if your designer is like not around and you just have the file, you can give it to another designer and be like, hey, can you turn this into a vector for me? We're talking about like 1 or 2 hours of work, depending on how complicated it is. But that is something that you want to have in hand, because the last thing that you want is to be in a situation where you're having something made, let's say a trade show, and you don't have your vector file, and then you're like, oh my god, like what do I do? Do I just have some random, you know, like you want to have that in your hand. So if you look at the first sheet that I gave you, the branding guidelines on the front, this is what we're trying to get filled out over the next couple of weeks. So you have this, and you can file it in your office, and if anything comes up, you need to get an ad made. You know, someone is making a social media graphic for your, you know, who's in-house, whatever it is, you can hand them the branding guidelines. You don't have to talk about it. You can skip all that. So what you want to put on there is where they find the logo files. So maybe it's web-based, you know, like maybe you have it in a Google Drive or something, but you want to be able to access your stuff really easily. Keep it in one place, and that should include a vector file. Lockups, logo lockups. So another thing that can happen with a logo is different variations.
I'm live. Colleen, I'm coming in here just to tell you. Let me go back. Let me do this. Hey, Colleen, I'm just coming in here to tell you that the to-do list was for people here listening to write a list of things for them to do that come up in their mind as they're listening to Nicole speak. Okay, so you're not missing anything on the to-do list. All right, I'm going back out there.
Variation on this logo that is whatever other shape. Here we also have like a little icon, which is helpful, like, you know, let's say in the browser, it's called a favicon, that little thingy at the top. You need some sort of like little icon for your logo. That can be really helpful. House of Funk, who I was talking about before, this was for the rebrand that we did. So same thing, we've got a horizontal version, a more square version. Obviously you can use that logo mark on its own, right? So like up in the favicon or wherever. And then you can reverse it. So once you have a color palette, you can say, all right, here are the files. Here are the files. We've got, we're allowed to reverse it. We've decided we're allowed to reverse our logo. We are allowed to have it in these 2 different shapes. We're allowed to use just the logo mark. But don't get creative, people who are designing things, you know, this is your limitations. So, like, I went to go to House of Funk's office once recently, and their video intern had taken the logo mark and put House of Funk in a different font next to it.
Ah!
I know.
Excuse me, Mr. Video Intern. Don't be stepping out of your box.
So yeah, so that's fine. But like that's the thing about having branding guidelines. It makes everything really clear. Like, hey buddy, everybody, you use this as it exists. And that's the nice thing about having some variations, so that if you get into a situation, different contexts call for different solutions. So if you have those solutions in your pocket on a file, then you're good. Color palette.
You should not.
You need to have a color palette. Okay, that's it. So color palette is the same thing. It's the kind of thing where if you're not careful, it can get away from you, right? Like all of a sudden you're like, oh my god, we're using like this here and that there and this here, and like what is our color palette really, right? And the thing about color is it has, I mean, it's represented, it's stated in different ways. So like if you're getting an getting a printer somewhere, you're going to need a PMS color, Pantone, versus like digital printing, you need CMYK, versus online you need hex colors, right? So it is best, if you look at your sheets there, to have ideally all 3 of those different numbers, so that you hand your branding guidelines to someone and they will not stray from what your brand is, and everything will remain perfectly and sweetly consistent. Now, this comes down to making decisions. So you have to say, like, what is my color palette? You have to make those choices. So maybe you're working with a designer, or maybe you're not. Maybe you just need to go back and be like, all right, what's in my logo? What other colors? Let's just nail this down right now. You know? Worst case scenario, you put whatever you can on there. So like if you only have, like Luann just sent me only Pantone colors, that's fine. I can convert them.
Right.
You know?
Because you're a rock star.
No, I'm a designer. So like, a designer can convert them. Just give them something now. You know, just give them something. They can figure it out if you give them one of those things. Pantone is a little funny because Pantone is like, it's like real life. Like you really want to like when I provide branding guidelines at the end of a project, I usually don't provide Pantone because that's the thing that you need to look at in person on Pantone chips. So like I'll provide CMYK and hex. And then I would rather have the clients at some point go to a printer and pick out their own Pantone colors, because what they're seeing on the screen with the hex color, it might be very different depending on the model of monitor that they're using, and I could guess really, really wrong.
Okay.
So that's why. So
Interesting.
If you send me Pantone, like I have Pantone chips, I can compare it to hex. You know?
Okay.
So here's an example of a color palette.
That was me.
You can come at this color palette thing in really 2 different ways. From the client's perspective, more, or from your perspective, more. So you can look at it as an expression of the mood of what you're providing, of your services, of your brand, right? And we've already checked in with our target client, so it's not going to be far off from who they are, but you can come at it from that way. Or you can literally ask the target client or your current clients, like when you go to talk to them about why they hired you, you can literally be like, so like what kind of colors do you like? But you don't have to do that, because you guys are interior designers and you already know what kind of colors they like.
Right, you're not accountants.
Yeah. So the thing is, you know, we've got an example right here. This is a client who's in the Cape Cod area. This client is known for a very specific style. So they're doing like luxury seaside, second home. It's generally the clients are up in that area. People hire her, Michelle, for this, right? Not every designer has a specific style that they're known for. That's not what a brand has to be. In this case, it is. So for her, the color palette was like, Like, of course, it's going to be the color palette of every job she's ever done. You know? And we know that that appeals to her target client. So it's like really, really easy to choose that. Versus, this is a client in North Carolina, way funkier. She has a retail space. They do upcycled, like, interesting used items. It's a really cool store. And then she has an interior design business, and they do basically redesign. So come in, like, you know, move all your furniture around. They're there for like 4 hours. They leave your house is complete with things from the living room or in the kitchen, and like, you know, it's all like interesting stuff that is accessible, right? And if you look at her store, like everything is super funky. If you look at her projects, you can see these are different. They're different, but they all have that sort of like, you know, it's interesting stuff. So when we went with the color palette, this was mostly coming from the client. This was mostly like coming from what she likes.
So those 4 colors across the bottom are her website colors?
Yes, yes, along with white.
Right.
The white background. So it works because her projects tend to like be, the clients that are attracted to her are a funkier client, and you could see that in her portfolio, right? She doesn't have to tell me that. This color palette fits with the rest of her stuff. So, as I was saying, Pantone, CMYK, and Hex. In a perfect world, you get all 3 of those and you have them noted down. If you have to, you can always hand a designer 2 of them, 1 of them, whatever it is, and they can help you. But again, Pantone, you want to pick it out yourself. You want to go to the printer, ask to see their Pantone strips, and pick it out yourself. But once you do that, you write it down, and you have it forever. This is the good thing about doing this upfront work, then you're done. And you're done, and you never have to worry about it. Fonts. All the power of fonts. So, just, I mean, you guys understand that fonts have different sort of moods. Everybody in this room knows that, right? Like, oh, it's a horror movie. Oh, it's like a fussy little girl or old lady or something. This is more computery feeling. This is more, you know, like that one. And this is more traditional. So, you know, not to like generalize too much, right? But I think we all understand the importance of choosing fonts that feel right for your brand and feel right for your target market. It's a really extreme example.
Oh my God. That's hysterical. Look at that, how contrary it is. You'd be like, that's a medical company that's going to kill me. Like, oh my God, they dispense poison. That's bizarro. I have to go up closer and show everybody. Hang on, let me just show everybody this font.
Yeah. So be careful.
How much trust do you have in that medical tech company? I don't think so.
Yeah, so don't mess around, you know? So really what it comes down to is, and it's so common, like even, gosh, I even know of a web design company that just went through a rebrand, and they were like, oh my God, we realized we didn't audit. We realized we had like 6 different fonts we were using. So it's not just you know? It's everyone. It's really common. You have to just make some decisions and write it down. What fonts do we use? 3 fonts at most, that's my advice for you. There are exceptions to every rule, but generally 3 fonts is going to serve you just fine. You really don't need any more than that. So you've got a font that's more of a headline font, more of a header. It can be slightly more decorative. You don't want to go novelty, like, you know, probably. Something that's good for body copy, so the name of the game there is just legible. That's all. You just want it to be really legible when it's small. And then you might have like a script or something as like a decorative element. You could just go with the first 2. That'd be fine also. You want to check the license of your fonts. This is important. So if you just download a free font, check the license. If you go to like defont.com, for example, it's like a popular font download site, you'll see like free for personal use on a lot of them, but not for commercial use. And I mean, you know, it'll be okay, but why take the chance? So what I would always do in those cases, and what I do for all my clients, if we end up using a font like that, I go and I buy the commercial license. And for those kind of fonts, it's usually like $10, and you just saved yourself from any problems that could arise. So you just want to make sure that you have the license for whatever fonts you are using. You're going to use the same font all the time, so it's worth it. Just peace of mind. And then you need to include a web and a print version of each on your branding guidelines. Because sometimes you're going to have something installed on your desktop that you can use for print, or a designer can use for print, and then other times it's not going to be as easily accessible on the web. So, for example, Google Web Fonts, you know, if you install Google Web Font, like, that's easy to do, right? They offer a whole Google Web Fonts are also available for free download, often for personal use only. Go buy the commercial license. If you can't get a web version, or your designer couldn't get a web version, your developer couldn't get a web version of your font, look for something comparable. That's why you have two different spots there, because sometimes companies, even ASIT, they have web version fonts and then they have print fonts. It's okay. They just have to look similar enough that it feels consistent. So, again, print fonts, purchase the license, or if it's a free download, check the license. Make sure that you either, if you need one or you don't. Web fonts, some options for web fonts. Google web fonts uploaded to your site. This is more developer stuff, but I'm just pointing out subscription services, not the default font on your website name, okay? Because that's probably not going to be consistent with your brand. So if you use a theme, take the time. You can even install a plugin. Like if you're doing your own site, if anyone here is doing their own site, you can install a plugin to like use Google Web Fonts. So you can pick a font that works with your brand. That is like my right. Rona, I'm going to need some of your expertise here. So photography, it's another part of your branding guidelines. Like, what do you do as far as photography goes? First of all, you guys are all interior designers. I always say, like, if a tree falls in the forest, you know, like if you don't take a picture of the awesome project that you did, it's like it never happened. And I know how expensive it is, but taking and I don't want to like gloss over that, how expensive it is, because it's very expensive. But using subpar photos on your website with bad lighting, particularly with bad lighting, it's worse. It's worse than not having a picture at all. It really is. It just drags the look of everything down. You know, that's just the way it is. So if you need to call your website, if you've got older stuff, if you've got like, I've seen like scans of old magazines, like included in a portfolio. It's crazy stuff. Just edit it down. You just want the best of the best of the best. And then you need to make decisions. So in general with photography, when you're choosing images for your portfolio, again, you're going to be thinking about branding, because we're always thinking about branding, right? So if there is a certain style that you are known for, then of course, that's the stuff you're going to feature in your portfolio. Now, I will say this, in order to like pick and choose what's in your portfolio, you have to have enough work that you can do that. So, I mean, I will acknowledge certainly that like if you don't have enough work, if you're, you know, that you can't be like, oh, I'm only featuring like this one style with this one, you know, you can't do it. But still, the quality thing needs to happen.
Can I ask you something, Nicole?
Yeah.
So I don't know who here heard Lynn K. Leonidas' podcast, but she's somebody who was only in business like a year and started getting all these great projects. And she's been featured in Rue and Domino and Western something magazine already, Sunset magazine already. A lot of press for a young designer, basically, is the point. And she actually has had and still continues to have, even though she's got a lot of professional photography now, what she has on her page is an inspiration page. So she has pictures that are not her work. She doesn't pretend they're her work, but she basically is saying to people coming to her website, this is the type of design that I love, and by subconscious she's saying this is the type of design that I'd like to do for you, and if this resonates with you, I'm your designer. So had you ever run in? I never run into anybody that did that.
You know, it's funny, my second client.
Yeah, she credits the work. It's not, but she just says, she goes, inspiration. I mean, you have to look at her site. It's Lynn K. Leonidas, Leonidas. But she says it nicely. Like, in other words, she says something like, you know, oh, here's the work that I'm inspired by. Enjoy some of the work that I'm inspired by.
Yeah.
You know, pretty interesting, right?
That is interesting. It's interesting.
Because it builds your, subconsciously, it builds the look that you, yeah. And it's also, too, Laura Lochran, her Instagram feed, also a brand new designer. Her Instagram feed is at probably 3 out of 7 images are other people's work, the type of work she wants to do.
On Instagram, that feels very natural to
Right.
me.
But not on the website, right? I know. You have to look at her website.
Yeah, that's really interesting. It's
Yeah.
obviously working for her.
Yeah.
She's
Oh, yeah.
creating her
Oh,
own.
yeah. She's got a lot more press than a lot of us.
Yeah.
It's almost like a Pinterest store.
I know.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it fits social media very well. But, all right. So, yeah, actually, I was going to say my second client ever, she had images on her site that were not interiors. She was an interior designer, but they were not interiors. They were inspiration images of like, I don't know, beautiful gates and like, you know, just kind of a vibe thing.
Right.
So yeah, that was the closest I've ever seen come to that.
Interesting.
Okay, so just no badly lit images, not even on social media. Just no. Sorry. Decide what style do you want your images to be. How much of the story are you telling? So this is, I feel like this is something that not enough interior designers are telling enough of the story with their portfolio images. If there's something that you want to say about your brands in your portfolio, I mean, I've seen some portfolio images where there's like a pet, you know, or there's like a turkey, you know, like you can go as not far or as far as you want, but you can get interesting with styling your photos. That is an option. You could make that one of your things if you want to, or not, you know, but like, I'm just saying that the option is there to heavily style your photos. It's out there. And if you do, you can use it to convey what your brand is. All right, so we're almost done. Are we on time?
Well, we started late because lunch was late.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
Okay. So
this would be our ending time. So it's
okay. So we're almost done now.
Yeah.
All right. So this is what you do. All right. So once you guys, this is the exciting part. Once you have your messaging, you've got these things. You've got your brand positioning statement, so you can keep that in mind, and you've got your 4 or 5 points of messaging that are going to appeal to your target market. Now you want to amplify it. So now when you go to sit down and write your web and your print copy, you have something to work from. So I'll tell a story. Like a couple of weeks ago, I was working with my copywriter on a website, and I was going over it because we were going to go. She was going to present it to the client, and I was like, wait a second, we have the sub pages of this one section, but where's like the overview page? It's not here, right? She was like, oh my god, I didn't realize, blah blah blah, whatever. So I just went to the messaging and was like, all right, well, for this page, I think actually these 2 points of messaging would be like really effective here. And she jammed out that copy, and it was great. It was not a big deal because we already knew what we wanted the copy to accomplish. We were not starting from scratch. Same will apply to you. Once you have your messaging, I'm telling you, you're gonna have a much easier time if you're writing your own copy or if you're handing it to a copywriter. And again, you're gonna want to talk to them and get their input, but you can get them off on the right foot. Storytelling. Stories are so effective. So you can say that you have amazing customer service. Like, oh, Gail, I have amazing customer service. Do you believe me? I mean, maybe you believe me, maybe you don't. But like, I'm just saying it, right? But if you tell a story, like, so I was talking to my husband about this. He has a counseling practice, and I was like, Scoops. They call him Scoops. Do you use storytelling in session with clients? And he was like, yeah, actually, I have like a bunch of go-to stories that I use all the time. I've got the Staples story, I've got the angry client story, I've got cranky wife. Yeah, that's right. I found out that my husband uses a story about me regularly.
oh, this is a story about you, the cranky wife.
To help people cope. Yeah.
Oh.
To teach them like a method for dealing with people who are being difficult. That's right.
Oh. Isn't he special? Scoops. Scoops, here's a virtual slap in the face. Scoops.
He's like Facebook ruins all marriages. So, anyway, yeah, he's nice, but. So the thing is, like, it's effective. Like in therapy, it's effective. He could go to those people and be like, all right, so this is the method. You should do this, and then this, and then this. So when you're dealing with something that's, you know, whatever. Or he can tell the story, and they can understand it. They can empathize. They can absorb what's happening. They believe it. You know, it's a totally different thing, and it's exactly the same thing in marketing. If I tell you that I'm really great with customer service by telling you a story, how much more believable is that than me just saying it? Right. So you're going to do the same thing with your messaging. Once you have those points of messaging, the storytelling can happen in person, like you're meeting with a potential client, you just drop a story on them because it fits what you're talking about. You know, that happens. Like once you have that stuff in your head, it happens that you're like, oh yeah, like I have this moment where I'm like, actually this story would really illustrate the point that I'm talking about. It can happen in blog posts. It can happen in your copy, potentially. Storytelling is very, very powerful. We as humans really respond to it. So the only thing is, you just have to have the messaging first. Otherwise, you don't know what kind of stories to tell. Blog posts. So, as I just said, you can use storytelling in your blog posts. But in general, you can use blog posts to get your messaging across. So if you're saying you have an expertise in a certain area, you use blog posts to prove that. Basically, we're just trying to prove things to people, right? So they know that we're not just writing copy. So prove it through blog posts. Do case studies where you're illustrating if you are really doing a certain style, if you are really, whatever it is. If you do a twist on a typical thing, a luxury version of something that's not usually considered luxury, show them that you do that stuff. The nice thing about blog posts is, unlike a portfolio, typically the way a portfolio is structured, it's just a pretty. With a blog post, you can do a case study where you have before and afters. What was the problem? What was our solution? You can really get into it, and the person who's really considering hiring you is going to read that stuff because they want to know everything about you that they can at that point before they call you. Photo selection. Choose your photos according to what your brand does, right? So, that's all I need to say about that. Don't choose photos that go against what you want. Don't choose photos that go against the type of clients that you want or the type of brand that you want to put out into the world. People do it. They do it because they're like, oh, more is better. More is not better. Your systems. So if you're going out into the world and you're saying, like, we are the best with customer service, you better be building that into your systems with your employees. You better make that true. You can't just say it. So, I mean, it goes for anything. If you are going at a specific target client, like let's say it's downsizers or it's growing families, build it into your systems that you have something in place that really speaks to them, that goes to their needs. Build it into your systems because then your employees can do what they need to do, right? And you can do it. Employee training. That's what I'm saying. So whatever it is, your employees need to understand what your messaging points are so that they are doing what they need to do, so that your brand is consistent all across the board. Testimonial questions. Another way to prove that your messaging is true is to get other people to say it. It's really effective. It's as effective as storytelling, if not more. So the way that you do that is, once you figure out your messaging, you ask leading questions that relate to that messaging. So if we are saying that we're really responsive, and we ask our client in a feedback form or in person or however we're getting our testimonial, something about how responsive are we, and get them to talk about it and get them to say that in the testimonial. It's all going to support your brand. So your brand becomes this multifaceted thing where it's coming at you from all different places. How true it is. Video testimonial questions. Same idea, only video.
That VIDEO thing? Yeah.
Video converts. Video is really effective. Video is real people saying real things. Like if you can get video testimonials, same thing, you're going to ask the kind of questions that will get them to say the thing that you want them to say. Don't entirely leave it up to them. Leave those open-ended questions, like include those because you get some really good stuff in those, but also ask them the leading questions that are going to get them to talk about the messaging that you want. Social media posts, of course. Think about your branding when you're doing your social media posts and your messaging. Think about getting that messaging out there. What now? Okay, so complete your to-do list. If you've written anything that you need to do as far as like your logo files go or anything like that, complete your brand guidelines and your messaging guidelines. So once you've done all this stuff with your logo and you've figured out what you think that you want your voice to be, or what your voice is, or what you want your voice to be, that you aspired for it to be, then write that down too. Don't forget to qualify it, right? So if it's like aspirational, but still human, whatever it is, sense it in. Finish filling that out. Finish filling out that form with all of the questions. Take some time with it. This is serious stuff. Once you have your messaging points, like you're going to be using them a lot. So you want to really feel good about them, and call those clients and ask them why they hired you, because you don't know what they're going to say, and it might be really, really interesting. Let all of this guide your decisions. So it's going to make your life easier.
By the way, you could also ask vendors that know you really well.
Oh, good point, Louise.
Because I remember however many years ago Sandra sending it to me. I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh yeah, I got that questionnaire.
That's a great
Yeah,
point.
because the vendor you work with year after year after year, and the vendor has an opinion of you and what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are.
That's a great point. And yeah, they can see you in a way that you can't see
Yeah.
yourself.
You've done a lot of work for yourself now, Lynette.
I know, right? Right?
Okay, so the most important thing, as I said before, you're doing these messaging points, you're getting it all down on paper, you're putting it out into the world, but just like really make it true. This is if you're saying that you're good at doing something, go get better at it, you know, like really live it. Put it into your systems, really make it happen. Find out who you are, do it on purpose. Thanks, Dolly. And then finally, I included some notebooks in your
Goodie bags.
Yeah, your goodie bags. Those are just, I mean, use them for whatever, or don't use them, whatever. But the intention is for kind of like your branding notebook. So like if you're at a client's house and they say something interesting to you about you, or about how you relate to them, something that could be interesting for your branding, just jot it down in there. Or if you're at a client's house and you notice, gosh, like so many of my clients like have Le Creuset pants, for example. If there's some product or service that you notice a lot of your ideal clients are using, jot that down and go check out their messaging and go see what they're doing that is appealing to this client, because you can learn things from other companies. All right, so that's it. Any questions?
All right, let's just thank you, Nicole, and hang on one second.
Yes.
How did you come up with your name, Curio Electro?
Oh my God.
I'm sitting here trying to think about it, and then you have a horse.
It's so random. Yeah.
Wait, take all my advice except that random advice the way I did it.
If I could go back in time, I actually, at this point, my branding is like, to like rebrand. I thought about it, but it would be such a big deal that like there are things that I like, yeah, it was all very spur of the moment. The idea is like, so curio, like a curio cabinet, like little, you know, objects, and then like the electro version of that, like that was like what I was thinking at the time, but it was like, you know, I mean, I'm fine with it, but I don't
Can I
love
tell
it.
you something? Would you just own that? What are you standing here apologizing for it for? I'll tell you why she has that. Because she likes the idea of a curio cabinet, including all of this information. But she's electrical. She's not a girl. She's doing it
I'm just being
digital.
honest. I have mixed feelings about it lately.
I know, but until you change it, own it, girl.
You're right. You're right. You're right. Thank you, Luann. Thank you.
I mean, seriously.
That's how I remembered you.
Oh, well, that's good.
Well, see, there you go.
And the thing with like digital agencies, like it's pretty common to have weird names. Like I'm not alone.
All right, well, we're going to say thank you to you.
Thank
you
you,
so
Luann.
much for coming today.
Thank you.
for helping all these people and all these people on Facebook Live, too. I mean, about 25 minutes ago, we had over 1,075 shares, 1,075 views. So I don't know how many now, but a lot of people heard your message on branding.
All right.
All right. All right, goodbye, everybody. Thanks for joining. All right. Yeah. Yeah, no, thank you, Gail, for getting us to do it.